Everyone, it's Emily Fox. Today's video is going to be my third year doing my Goodreads Choice Awards Show. Basically, everyone knows about the Goodreads Choice Award, and there's been this controversy that it's like popularity contest, so I thought it would be fun for me to read a bunch of the winners and nominees in a few different categories and let you know at the end of next year, after I have time to read a couple, which book should have won in my opinion. It's obviously a little tongue-in-cheek, it's not that serious, no one's review is actually objective, but it's just a fun way to give you a bunch of reviews of books that were newly released. So currently today in 2021, I am going to be doing that for the books that were published in 2020. Feel free to leave your own reviews in the comment section of books that I'm mentioning or other ones that I didn't, basically which ones you think should have won. So the first category is Best Fiction Book. In that category, out of 20 books, I have read 4, which is not too bad. We'll see if I agree with the winner or not. Let's start with the lowest rated one, My Dark Vanessa. Okay, that one I picked up kind of just last second. I wanted to know what the hype was about, and I had no idea what it was about, which was a mistake because it's about grooming, which is not really something I enjoy reading about. It is well done. I will give it that. You have this 15-year-old student that ends up in a relationship with her teacher, so pedophilia, and it's well done because the story is told from the point of view of the victim. It's not something that you see super often, and it's definitely triggering, and understand why people enjoyed it. Personally, I tend to rate my books based on my enjoyment, so I can't say that I loved reading it, and there are definitely other books in this category that I enjoyed more, but I get it. I also read Such a Fun Age, which was really popular when it came out, like a perfect like book club kind of book, and it's about performative activism and like wokeness culture, which I think it was well written also. I think it would be like second place out of the 4 for me, so do recommend that one if you have yet to pick it up. I also read Anxious People, which that one lost by 5 votes. So like your vote is really important. This is my third book-ish by the author. I have read A Man Called Uba, which I did really like. That's why I keep trying more books by the author. And then I tried Beartown, but I had to put that one down. I just couldn't do it. So I was excited to try this one. I went into it as an audiobook, which is not a bad way of doing it because a lot of the story is told like conversation and like backstory of the characters. It's very character driven. You have this person that goes to a bank to get some money. They need money desperately. Turns out that the bank doesn't have cash. It's all online. And then they escape into this like showing of an apartment. A condo is for sale. And then when the police arrives, they can't find the person. So like what happened? So throughout the book, you basically have the backstory of each character, why they are there, why do they need to buy this place, and that's it. I did enjoy the writing. I did overall enjoy the characters. I just found myself not super invested. I just didn't really care. And whenever the ending happened, I was like, oh, okay, that's what happened. I feel like it's the kind of books that like supposed to make you feel good kind of thing, and it only works for me if I'm invested, and I just really wasn't. So I think it's going to really depend on how you feel about the characters, but personally it was fine, just nothing that deserved my 1 vote, you know? Mostly because the winner, which I am voting for, I did vote for that one last year because I had read 2 books last year, so I voted anyway. The Midnight Library by Haig. He's an author that I keep reading everything that he comes out with. His writing really works for me. And in this case, I think that the concept is what sold me. You have this woman, she's suicidal, she's depressed, and she attempts, and then she ends up between life and death and goes to this midnight library where she ends up trying a few different versions of her life, basically different books, and she gets to see what her life would have been if she had made different choices. Cool, no? I have to say, the ending wasn't 100% up to my taste, but I tend to be a little picky with these things. And I actually made a few of my friends read it, and someone mentioned that it was like a depressed Hallmark movie. And I can't stop thinking about it because it's true. Also great, like, book club kind of book. You can't put this down. I've been mentioning every time I talk about it that do not start it late at night. I made that mistake and did not sleep pretty much that night because I needed to know how it ended. And I think it's an overall really interesting book. Very readable. I give it like 4.5 stars, so definitely did enjoy it. No spoilers, but like I feel like towards the end, it looks like it's going to go in a direction which worried me a little bit. But I overall was pretty satisfied with this book. Do recommend it. Obviously, it's the winner in my opinion. I'm so glad it won by 5 votes. Okay, the second category is Best Mystery Thriller, and it's the category that stresses me out. I almost didn't redo it this year because I didn't read as many books overall as I did last year for this challenge, but I don't think my ratings were as low as last year. Last year, especially in this category, I think I had read like 9 or 10 books, and I had liked none. Which made me wonder, like, do I even like mystery thrillers? I do. It's just that I think the new releases just don't work for me. A lot of times, like a drunk female character, I don't care. I don't care. But this year, there's a winner, and it's not the winner. My winner is not the popular winner. Because the winner was the guest list. And I have read 6.5 because I didn't finish this one. And I couldn't read it. Another one of my challenges actually for 2021 was to learn to put books down when I'm not enjoying them. I am terrible at this because I just want to know, and I'm scared I'm going to miss out on the ending if it gets better. But it just puts me in a reading slump every time. So I, after putting it down like 6 or 7 times, realized that it was not going to happen. I tried the ebook, I tried the audiobook, and I tend to listen to audiobooks as I'm doing like going on a walk or like doing my makeup or something. And about 6 times, I literally pressed pause and preferred finishing whatever I was doing in silence instead of continuing. That is a terrible sign for a book. And I don't understand how many people, almost 500,000 people rated this book. I couldn't even finish it. I really, really tried, but I hated every second of it. It's supposed to be about guests for a wedding, I think. I just never finished it, so I don't know. So obviously not going to be the winner for me. I don't get it. If you have read it, you enjoyed it, or not, please feel free to leave your own review. Same with every book that I'm mentioning. But yes, if you want to convince other people that it's actually good, feel free to do so. In second place was Home Before Dark by Riley Sager. Okay, I am all over the place with this author because I really like his premises, but I feel like his female characters suck. And it becomes more and more obvious the more books I read by him. I think I've read like 6 books at this point. And this isn't the worst. I do enjoy like haunted houses, and in this case you have this woman and she lived briefly as a kid in this old haunted house, and I think her family wrote like a book about it, and it's becoming popular, and they still own the house but haven't been in forever. And then she goes back there to try and like renovate it, maybe sell it. The most obvious bit in like the badly written character was that someone comes, like a man that lives in the small town, whatever, to offer his help, and then she basically accused him of mansplaining things to her, but like he really wasn't. So it screamed like fake wokeness, and it just was weird. Like no female author would have written that. Like you just know, you know? But I did overall enjoy the whole haunted house. If you are someone that gets scared very easily, you might enjoy that. The ending wasn't my favorite, but it could have been worse. It was like a 3-point-something stars. So a pretty overall enjoyable book, but not enough to win for this award. Next we have One by One by Ruth Ware, which I don't even want to go into details. This was the worst book that I've read in this category. Like worse than the guest list that I couldn't finish. Like it was straight up bad. I have read 2 or 3 books at this point by her. 4. I think this is my 4th book by her. And the worst one. You have this like team of coworkers. They used to work on this app. I think it's being sold. I don't even remember. It's not memorable. And they end up in this like cabin to celebrate, and people start dying, and you're like, who did it? Which the premise is fine. But so boring. So boring. Skip that one. It doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. Then we have The Devil and the Dark Water, which I had voted for, but I won't this time. I rarely change my mind, so that's fun. I like this author. I was sold after reading his debut novel, which was The 7.5 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle. I like mystery that have like a fun twist to it. In this case, you're following a duo of detectives. They're pretty famous. It's like an old version of our world, kinda. And you have people that go on a boat during a journey, and then a demon starts appearing, like people start dying and you don't know who did it. Again, I like the whole like confined space. Like it has to be someone or something that makes sense on, in this case, a boat. And I feel like with this author, his endings are his weakest point, but the journey is so enjoyable that it's still okay. I don't feel like I'm selling it, but it was overall enjoyable. I mean, I did vote for it last year. It is something I would recommend checking out if that sounds appealing to you, but it's not going to win this time. The next one I read was Long Bright River, which super memorable. I think that my issue with this one is the fact that you're following this police officer, and she has her son, and then she has a sister who, like, drug addict, kind of disappeared, and she's supposed to investigate this case, but the 3/4 of the book has nothing to do with it, and it's just like family drama, which is fine if that's something that you go into the book expecting, but because it was in the mystery thriller category, I didn't realize it was going to be that, so I wasn't super invested into it, and when we got to the ending, I was just like, okay, it was fine. Like, no hard feelings, but just definitely not good enough to win this category for me. Now, 2 more books that I did enjoy, because damn, I feel like I complain about a lot of books here, but 2 that I would recommend. The first one would be The Night Swim, which, if you're someone that enjoys like podcasts, like crime podcasts, maybe even as an audiobook, which I did do because there's a podcast in it. So I feel like it's fun to listen to the podcast portion as a podcast. And you have this woman who has the podcast, and she goes to this small town to follow this court case. And at the same time, she kind of gets sucked into investigating an old case. And it was really enjoyable. I did recommend it whenever I mentioned it in my wrap up. And a few of you actually picked it up and said that you also enjoyed it. So I do understand the hype. I think the reason it only had like 3,000 votes was it was fairly new released when the votes happened. Like, it was released in August, and you vote in November, so maybe. And also the author wasn't super well known. At this point, this is her most well-known book, so would recommend it if that's something that you are interested in. Definitely worth the read. However, I think my winner, it's hard to choose, but I think my winner is going to be The Sundown Motel by Simone St. James. This was my second book by the author. I have read Broken Girls by her, and it was fine, just nothing crazy, but this one was super fun. And I feel like the author finally found her groove. It seems to be a theme for her to want to have 2 timelines of like present time and then investigating kind of like old case. And this girl, you're following a young woman who wants to investigate what happened to her aunt. So you have, the flashback of what happened in 1980. And she goes to work in the same motel where she used to work when she disappeared. And it's like haunted, which, again, a theme I enjoy. So you have the back and forth trying to figure out what happened. Things are starting to be weird again in the present time. So I would highly recommend that one. I'm keeping it vague, obviously, because mystery thrillers, the least you know, the better. But would recommend that one if you are looking for a new one. And I think it's going to be my winner. It's hard. It's between that one, so the Stuart Turton one, probably not, and The Night Swim. But I think this is my winner. So see, not amazing. I didn't enjoy like half of them in this category, but it's better than last year. There are 3 that I think are worth the read compared to 0. I was ready to never do this challenge again if this didn't go well, which is understandable, right? But we'd love to hear your thoughts on any of these, and if you have read other books in this category, let us know which ones are worth it. Then we have Best Fantasy, which I have read or attempted to read 10 books, so half of them, which I feel like I'm very confident in voting for a favorite in this category. I did not vote for the winner because I am not reading more Sarah J. Maas. I have read enough. I've read like 5 of her books at this point. Enough. I didn't hate all of them. They're not for me. We're gonna go bottom up just for fun. With only 2,000 votes was The Bone Shard Daughter, which I think wasn't super well known, so that's probably why. I feel like more people have read it since. And it's one of those books that I thought I was going to love it, and I didn't quite end up caring much. I think my mistake with that one was to try the audiobook. I usually don't go for audiobooks for fantasy books because I feel like they're too complex in general, and like with new names and stuff, it's just easier for me to remember them if I see them. So that was my mistake, I think, because it's pretty complicated, like the magic system, the world building, the timelines, and the point of views also, and I have no opinions, pretty much. It's like a 3-point-something stars. It wasn't bad, it's just that it's on me, that one. So let's quickly go to the next one. The Girl in the Stars by Mark Lawrence. I thought I was going to love this book. It is part of the same universe as the Ancestor trilogy, which I did really enjoy. But this one is like 300 pages that feels like a prologue. Straight up a prologue. Not much happens. Didn't care about the characters. And the answers that we were left wanting from the first trilogy weren't answered. I'm sure they will in the future, but I'm just giving up on the series because I get really annoyed whenever it happens. Like the first book, 300 pages and nothing happens. Like, it's just making me buy another book for no reason. So resenting it, so definitely not a winner for me. So if we continue going up, we have Black Sun, which that one I really enjoyed. It is one of the weirdest books that I've read in a while. Definitely of this year, I think. But in general, this is weird. You have this fantasy world where there's like giant crows that people can like be on and fly on. But like, let me just actually tell you from the first chapter what happens. Not a spoiler, it's the first chapter. We have this young man and they go through like a ceremony, I guess, with his mother, and she carves like a design on his back, and then she blinds him, and then she throws herself down the balcony to kill herself. That's the first chapter. I was not ready for this. at all. So definitely some trigger warnings there. Might want to look it up, but it doesn't stay that intense. Also, there were a few like mentions of like trans characters or like background characters, which might have more important spots with the rest of the series, but I thought I would mention it because I like representation that is just like there without really being important. So if that's something you are looking to read more, I would highly recommend this book. The cover always makes me think it's like a sci-fi book, but it's definitely fantasy. So I'm looking forward to reading book 2 that is supposed to come out next year. Next, I absolutely adored this book, The Burning God, which is the last book in the Poppy War trilogy. I mentioned a few times through this video that like the ending of a book or sometimes the ending of a trilogy, like it's always the weakest point. And I get so annoyed because like it's supposed to be the punch, you know? Oh, did we get that punch here? Obviously spoiler free, but it's a series that has been getting a lot of hype for a good reason. Again, look up every trigger warnings. There are so many because obviously it's based on like wars. So a bunch of horrible stuff happens. The main character is also pretty morally gray, but I kind of like her. I do. The magic system is based on gods, so people that can use their magical powers are connected directly to gods, and the gods are not good, so the more you use the powers, the more you lose your mind. And the world gets bigger and bigger with each book, so the third book, big war. I'll keep it really big, but the ending though, I wasn't expecting it. Am I happy? I don't know, but it was the right ending. That's my opinion. So definitely 5 stars for me. It was really good. Is it going to be the winner? Probably. I'll finish reviewing everything and we'll go back. The next 3, it's not good reviews. It's not. We have A Deadly Education by Naomi Novik. I did finish that one, but I shouldn't have. Stubbornness, I still am learning to put down books when I'm not enjoying them. It's a magical school though, so like it's my weakness. I love them, but I got so frustrated because I didn't enjoy anything. Like I didn't enjoy the setting, which could have been fun because like the school is basically dangerous, so you always have to be on your guard. Like you can't even sleep without being attacked and possibly killed, so it's very intense. The characters are not likable or fun. Like the main character is really unlikable, which again sometimes can work, but I don't feel like it worked with this one. The magic system was not super well explained nor fun. I feel like some parts you would skip the action, which was like, why am I reading this? I didn't care for like the romance. I feel like it came out of nowhere, was bad. The plot wasn't great. Like you can tell there's nothing I enjoyed, so I will not be continuing the series. Didn't care for it, obviously will not win. The next 2 book I did put down without finishing. Go me. The first one is The Once and Future Witches, which I thought I was going to love. I love witches, but this one is like a more modern witch, like during the time of women's vote, and it just felt vague and I just really wasn't invested, and I got to the 50%, which is usually when I ask myself, okay, are you enjoying this? And I wasn't, so like why torture myself? So I just DNF'd it. Then we have The City We Became by N.K. Jemisin, which I love her. I have read 3 of her books and then 1 of her short story, and I love them. So I thought I was going to love this, but I had to put it down so quickly. I was listening to that one as an audiobook also. I tend to use my library for new releases, and audiobook, the waiting list is shorter. That's why I've read so many of these as audiobooks. And I got to like an hour into it, and like the music, I think they were starting to sing, and I just, like a visceral reaction, no, put this down, just return it. So I did. But some people really love it, some people really hate it. I think it really depends, so feel free to, once again, leave your own review. The next 2 I did enjoy though. The first one is The House on the Cerulean Sea, which is a very like children's book kind of book. So I'm kind of surprised it's in the adult category. But you have this like grumpy man who is supposed to go to like orphanage and like make sure everything is okay, but he's very negative, like strict person. And then he gets to this really remote one where they have like magical children, and it gets very wholesome. I read it actually last year, close to Christmas, so I feel like it worked for me at the time because very wholesome, the holidays, obviously. But if you're someone that really enjoys these kind of like children's book, I keep saying that because it kind of is, you will probably enjoy this one. There's this cat in my neighborhood who is super skittish. My neighbors were super impressed because she comes inside my house for no reason. So she's right there. I'm gonna open the door, give me a second. And the last book that I have read in this category is The Invisible Life of Adelaide by V.E. Schwab, which I think this is her best work. Her writing is beautiful in this book. Again, a book that people either love or hate. Personally, it just worked for me. It's very character driven, which is usually not my favorite, although I do like quite a few of them. But this one I adored when I read it, could not put it down. I love the story. I'm going to try to keep it, again, kind of vague because I do feel like some of the twists are spoilers since it's a very character driven story. But you have Eddie escape a forced marriage when she was 300 years younger, and she ends up living forever. However, the twist is that people don't remember her. So I'm not going to say anything else. I feel like it's been getting a lot of hype. A lot of people do enjoy it. Personally, I did really love it. However, that's the one I had voted for at the time, but since then I have read The Burning God, and I think I have to give it to that book. It's close. I feel like either one, if they had won, I would have agreed, but unfortunately Sarah J. Maas was on the list, so obviously automatically she wins, the same way that Stephen King always wins. But either one, but I think I'm gonna go Burning God. So worth it, so good. So that's gonna be it for part 1. I hope you enjoyed it. Thumbs up, subscribe, because part 2 will be up in 2 days. Once it's up, I will be putting it on the screen in the description box. I hope you enjoyed it. I will see you soon. Bye. Only you're the reason why I can feel those butterflies.